This is Tim. Tim attends school, he works, and he has different friend groups. By every metric, he's a normal guy. And also normal about him, one day he feels great. Then one day, he doesn't. He could blame social media, his new relationship, or the one that just ended. Maybe he could even point back to childhood traumas, or blessings, or the Taco Bell he had last night. Whatever the case, sometimes Tim gets into the habit of thinking only his self-esteem ebbs and flows. Yet the truth is, that's the case for everyone, ourselves included. We may feel energized on Monday, but by Friday, we're depressed, downing yet another extra large box of pizza alone. Every week isn't like this, but we certainly don't feel great every day. Do you know why? Life can be a roller coaster sometimes, but the real answer is a bit deeper. One man pondered this question. He thought about self-esteem so much, he developed what he coined the self-evaluation maintenance theory, or SEM for short. Abraham Tesser was his name, and he created this relatively new idea in 1988. Tesser's theory discussed two main concepts. First, each person will try to increase their own self-esteem, and if not, they'll strive to at least maintain it. Secondly, an individual's self-esteem is influenced by their relationships with other people. And yes, that even includes the super introverts among us. But let's go back to Tim. He has a close friend who's a painter, and she recently won a prestigious art competition. More than likely, with this news, he'll feel proud and happy for her. Her success will reflect positively on him and boost his self-esteem because of their close relationship. This is called the reflection process. She feels good and makes him feel good as a result. On the contrary, her win could have the opposite effect or cause what's called the comparison process. This would happen if Tim started comparing himself to the friend. Since he doesn't have the achievement she does, he might feel less competent and have his self-esteem lowered. You might feel one process more strongly or frequently than the other, depending on, who you are. The intensity of both processes really depends on two important factors we should discuss: closeness and performance level. Closeness is exactly what it sounds like. It describes how well you know a person. The deeper the relationship, the more you'll relish in their success, or the more you'll compare yourself with them. Tim is impacted by his painter friend based on their closeness. But if she were a stranger, her success would have less effect on his self-esteem, if any at all. The same is true of people in your own life. A relative or friend's success is more likely to affect you than the success of a stranger. It's definitely why we feel so great coming out on top in a sibling rivalry. The second factor is performance level. If another's performance level is high, it's more likely to trigger the reflection comparison process and make it more intense. If the other person's performance is low, there is less reason to share in the first place and less reason to compare yourself. Therefore, you won't raise or lower your self-evaluation. The closeness and performance factors combine multiplicatively. That's great news if you hate math. If there's no association between yourself and another, then even if that other person's performance is superb, there is little to gain through reflection. Likewise, when performance goes to zero, the level of closeness ceases to matter. However, if you're like Tim, then you're probably wondering which process, reflection or comparison, you're more likely to go through. You can figure that out through what's called relevance, anything that relates to your self-identity. Think of relevance as any self-defining factor that describes your identity. For example, skills in music may be important to your self-identity, but at the same time, being good at math may not be as important, even if you're skilled in it. Let's say writing is a significant part of Tim's self-identity. If he and his brother are both up-and-coming authors, but the sibling gets his novel published and receives praise for his efforts, Tim is more likely to compare himself. He may feel less competent as a result. Now that you understand how self-esteem gets higher or lower, you're probably wondering how it's maintained. These are strategies and mechanisms we use unconsciously to keep what we have and even raise it up when possible. The most effective way we do this is by changing one of three things we discussed. Closeness, performance, and relevance, or all three. Let's start with closeness. Tim and a colleague are both aiming for a promotion at work. Tim even considers this colleague a friend. When the colleague receives the promotion and Tim doesn't, he could maintain his self-esteem a few different ways. He may distance himself from the friend, not join them for lunch, or simply avoid conversations about work. This could help manage feelings of inadequacy and thus maintain his self-evaluation. Speaking on relevance, Tim and a friend both enjoy playing the guitar. His friend becomes exceptionally good and starts performing at local venues, while he feels improvement for himself is happening all too slowly. To protect his self-esteem and keep a positive self-evaluation, he might start focusing more on another enjoyable hobby that he's better at. Lastly, Tim could maintain his self-evaluation by changing his performance level. He and a friend are both in a science class. The friend consistently scores higher on exams, and Tim starts feeling inadequate. He might decide to put more effort into studying, seeking additional help from the teacher, or join a study group. Fluctuating self-esteem it's natural, so don't feel bad about that. How we feel depends a lot on our connections and how we respond to them. That doesn't mean every day will be great, but every day won't be bad either. And the more you understand that self-esteem roller coaster, the more you can take it for a ride instead of it taking you.